prevent preventable evictions, and where they are not preventable, give a path to housing stability long term. That's why we partner with all these great people in the room. It's also why we're trying to work with landlords. We want to keep good landlords in Harris County. So often we see that where properties are getting sold out of state and that money is flowing out of state, and these landlords are not treating their tenants like human beings, but just assets, right? So part of our goal with this eviction diversion program is to help work with good landlords who want to have good tenants. And so that is also why we work with all these partners in the room in order to ensure housing stability, ensure that everybody has an opportunity to get their lease situation figured out. So with that, I'm gonna, oh yes, sorry, question in the back, sir.
Would you like to hear some comments from a good landlord?
Sure, yeah, please, yeah.
I'm going to share some things with you that I think will kind of blow your mind. I am currently, my name is Jackie Teeve. I've been supervising apartments in Spring Branch for 36 years. I'm in the process of retiring, so I'm currently down to just supervising one property of 340 units. And based on statistics, an average, and I believe the Lone Star folks who would support this, the average 340, 50 unit apartment complex does between 5 and 10 evictions a month. And in my opinion, if it even gets to court, that's a failure of society. Okay? We've heard a lot about court and all that, and obviously that was what the meeting was about. So the average is 5 to 10 evictions per month. About a year ago, the manager I supervised went to court, and there was a 350 unit property that had 54 evictions. I don't know how you get to that. We haven't done an eviction in the last 8 months. We don't do 5 evictions a year, not a month. How can that be? Well, here's the way it works. First of all, any landlord who doesn't do the things I'm about to tell you, which is basically no landlord does what we do, in my view is an idiot. Because evicting people doesn't save you money, it costs you money. Okay? So not doing evictions is a win-win situation. But wait a second, if we don't do evictions, are we going to lose our shirt? Yes and no. So how do we not do evictions and also not lose our shirts? And by the way, there are only 2 states, to answer your question, that do the landlord lien, where they can go in and take non-exempt items without notice. I think the comment was made with notice. They don't have to give you notice. All that has to happen is rent must be owing, okay? We've never done, in 36 years, a landlord lien. But what we do is what we call, which I invented 36 years ago, a voluntary lien, okay? As was described before, you're $150 short, your car is in the shop, you know, your workplace got flooded and you didn't work for a week. We understand that. Life happens, right? So we say to the resident, and by the way, we call every resident, every month, like the day that the money is due, literally, right? And then we call them every day. And then we say, do you have something? We give them until the 9th to bring the account current. If they pay 50% of the rent by the 9th, we give them until the 15th, okay? And then if they still can't pay by the 15th, we say, do you have something of value that you want to pawn with us at no charge? And as soon as you bring your rent current, we'll give it right back to you. No interest, no going to the pawn shop, no nothing. It could be a family heirloom, it could be non-exempt property, it could be your work tools, right? In a landlord lien, we can't take those. Not that we ever did, we don't do that. It's too dangerous to go into people's houses without notice, with everybody packing heat, and so it's a stupid thing to do. And only 2 states in the United States allow it. Texas being one of them. So we say, do you have something of value? We have a form, a legal form. By the way, everybody that works in the office is bilingual, and so am I. So if I get involved as a supervisor, which I almost never do anymore, and if they do, they bring it in. we hold on to it, they get over their emergency, it might take them a month, might take them 2 months, sometimes we'll even waive late charges if they have a really legitimate reason. You know, one of the roommates just left, another roommate got deported, somebody broke their leg, you know, life happens, right? So they bring the voluntary lien, and I would say 9 out of 10 people who go through the voluntary lien procedure never get evicted, maintain their dignity, never have an eviction filing on their record, and bring the rent current. While the apartment complex doesn't have to deal with the legal process, take 3 months to evict them, have to find another resident to put in that unit. It's the ultimate win-win situation. Nobody does it except for us. And I've shared, and the reason I'm telling you all this, you guys work in this, any property that wants our voluntary lien form, although it's copyrighted, we'll be happy to share it with them. Second thing we do is we offer them work. Every apartment complex has stuff that needs to get done. So you're $150 short, clean a 1 bedroom, $75, clean another 1 bedroom, $75. Guess what? 150 is gone. So if you lost work at work, we have work over here.
How many units?
340. Well, 346, and we have about 330 occupied. Okay? And both of those ideas are a win-win situation. That is what the goal is of running an apartment complex or any business, right? You want your customers and clients to win, but you don't want to lose your shirt doing it. So that's really basically what I wanted to share with you. To the extent that some of you can, apply these kind of ideas long before they get into the legal process. Any questions or any comments?
Maybe when we organize a landlord forum or something, we can ask you to speak.
Absolutely. I can give you my information.
In the
Yeah.
process of
Sure.
reaching out.
Yes, ma'am.
The disaster really don't start until after you get, if you've been evicted and you want the second chance apartment, they got that. They said second chance apartment. On the, form of the telephone, you look it up, they want double the rent. They want, double security.
Yeah.
So we are a second chance property, and we sometimes ask for triple or quadruple deposits.
Yeah.
Okay? And again, it depends on the circumstances. A very common circumstance is the person could have paid the rent, but just didn't feel like it. I'm gonna tell you that right now. More often than not, the people that get evicted, the only ones we evict are the ones that refuse to talk to us about a voluntary lien and refuse to do any work. There are no excuses. If you're really that hard up for the money, I mean, I was a physician for many years, retired, and I'm a lawyer and a businessman and whatever. But when I was in medical school, I lived in circumstances that were absolutely not habitable, okay? But that's what I needed to do in order to get through medical school, etc. If you and your kids are looking at being evicted, you can go over there at midnight and clean the 1 bedroom apartment. I'm sorry, right? So we'll look at why the person was evicted. And if they have a legitimate reason, we'll give them a second chance. But if they don't, we're not even going to accept them. Because I believe in consequences for people's own behavior. So if someone is short of the money because of issues outside their control, I'm there to help them. We've waived months of rent in those circumstances. Literally waived rent.
So you're looking at it individually.
Absolutely, case by case basis. And I'll tell you what, not answering the manager's call and multiple calls, etc., is a huge
Putting your
mistake.
head in the sand is the worst thing.
Yeah, it's a huge mistake, because what you're saying, excuse my French, and excuse what I'm about to show you, this is what you're saying to the landlord.
Yeah.
Okay, just think like you were the landlord.
Yeah.
Person owing rent, you're calling them, you're emailing them, you're knocking on their door, You know, and by the way, we don't do lockouts either, because like they said, you have to be available 24/7 and within 2 hours provide a key. What's the purpose of that? The only reason to do a lockout is to get the resident to come talk to you. But we already do that. We call them, we send smoke signals, passenger pigeons, you know, whatever, right? If they decline all those efforts, I don't need to lock them out because they've already talked to me. They've already said to me, up yours, we're not, you know, we're not communicating with them.
So the second chance thing, I started looking into that, and yes, you do have to pay double the deposit.
Well, it depends on each property.
So, but I want to mention another opportunity here, other than these bigger complexes. I also am a landlord, I have 2 garage apartments, and there are lots of people like me who have small duplexes, garage apartments, things like that. I'm like you, I'm willing, I've been a small landlord for 25 years now, I have never, not once evicted anyone. Why? Because we have a relationship, our garage apartments are next door to my house. We have a relationship with the people, and if there is a problem, we figure it out, we work it out. Okay, so, places like this with small landlords, a lot of times we, like me and my husband, we don't even look at your eviction history. We don't look at anything. So you will interview with us, and then if we like you, you will be there. So those are the places that I do recommend. Also to build relationships and to live in a nicer neighborhood as well, and rather than these bigger complexes. Because honestly, I've never looked into the history of the tenant before. And I know I'm not the only one of the landlord. So where do they advertise? Zillow is where they advertise. And that's something that a lot of people don't know. It's very simple. Zillow is an app where all these kind of smaller landlords in neighborhoods advertise. That's where I recommend people going.
The other
For
thing
the
I want
second
to get out there.
Any questions for me, or should I? Okay, go
So
ahead.
we have a situation, and I'm kind of seeking for guidance. So we have a tenant, she's staying there for 2 months. She hasn't paid the rent. She said she had a death in the family. I said, okay, I understand that. No worries, get things taken care. Let me know when you can. 1 month passed, 2nd month passed, and now when I'm asking for rent, she's not even calling me back. She changed her phone number, and then the last time when I said, hey, I'm about to send an eviction notice, she said, okay, all caps. I'm like, what's happening? And then I checked with my neighbor over there. I said, hey man, is she okay? He said she doesn't take care of the trash. I don't know how your home is going to be inside. So if I'm in that situation, what are my options? What should I do?
Yeah. So that's a classic situation. And by the way, all the advice I've given you, I was a bleeding heart liberal and took everybody's story up front 36 years ago. I would have filed eviction on her in a heartbeat.
Right away?
Absolutely. The thing is, here's the interesting thing about your situation. If you let more than a month of rent pass, once they get to 2 months of rent owing, it makes 0 cents for them to pay.
Yeah.
Right? Because while you do the eviction, it's gonna take you another 3 months to get them out. And why would they pay you 5 months worth times $1,000 a month if they can take that 5,000, put 4,000 in their pocket and move somewhere else? So the longer, there's a psychologist called Maslow, and he's got this theory of learned helplessness, and this is not exactly that, but very similar. When somebody finds themselves in a position that there's only one logical thing to do from their point of view, that's what they're gonna do. I have never had a case where someone owed more than a couple months worth of rent and then they brought it current. Once they owe that kind of money and they know that they can drag it out another 3 months, why would they? So you can always file the eviction. It's a pain in the ass and it costs money and what. And then while the eviction's pending, you can work it out. But what you're doing is you're starting the process. It's gonna take 3 to 4 weeks to serve them. You can always talk to them before you go to court. You can get a 2-week continuance. Generally, the courts will grant it. Sometimes they'll grant even 2. But that threat of the eviction pending, and I always try to talk them out of that situation. I said, show me some good faith, pay me some money, you know, and also the other thing is, whenever a resident gives me a story, and I say me, I don't do this, so the staff does this, but whenever they give a story, I look for documentation. You'll find 80% of the time it's a story. Right? Oh yeah, who's the relative? Oh, when is a funeral? Is it on social media where we could look it up? Is there a death certificate? Those are public records, et cetera, et cetera. Oh, you lost your job. Where were you working? Who's your supervisor? You know, da 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 da. So, do you need me to go?
Yeah, I appreciate
Well,
everything you did. We're trying to.
Yeah, I was just,
See you
yeah,
later.
so.
Thank you. Yep.